what if the most famous spy car in history was never meant to exist? In 1963, Aston Martin built a sleek Grand Tourer for wealthy gentlemen, not for secret agents. Yet within a year, that same car would become a cinematic legend. The DB5 wasn't designed for gadgets, machine guns, or ejector seats. But a single film, Goldfinger, transformed it into the world's most iconic movie vehicle. How did an elegant British coupe turn into James Bond's ultimate weapon? Why did its creator hesitate to even lend the car to the filmmakers? And what secret engineering made its gadgets look so convincing on screen? These are the questions that built the legend of the 1963 Aston Martin DB5. And today we're diving into the 20 weird facts that prove sometimes fiction can make a car immortal. Number 20. Prototype to icon before it was James Bond's dream machine, the Aston Martin DB5 was just an experimental prototype gathering dust at the factory. The car that appeared in Goldfinger wasn't a production model at all. It was a pre-production test vehicle known internally as DP210-1. Aston Martin had originally built it for engineering trials, not for the big screen. When Eon Productions came knocking in 1963, the company was hesitant. Loaning a one-off prototype to a film studio sounded risky. But after some persuasion, and the promise of global publicity, they agreed. That single decision changed automotive history. The prototype was fitted with mock gadgets by special effects wizard John Steers, transforming it into the first cinematic Q-branch car. Once cameras rolled, DP21691 wasn't just an Aston Martin anymore. It was a character. Its brief test-bed life ended the moment Bond floored the throttle. In that instant, a simple engineering mule became an immortal movie icon. Number 19. The film debut that changed cinemas. When Goldfinger hit theaters in 1964, it didn't just redefine the spy genre, it redefined product placement forever. For the first time, a luxury car wasn't background scenery, it was a co-star. In Q's gadget-filled laboratory, Sean Connery's James Bond is handed the Aston Martin DB5 with a simple line: "You'll be using this Aston Martin DB5." And with that, cinema changed. Audiences had never seen anything like it. Machine guns hidden behind headlights, a bulletproof rear screen, revolving number plates, and of course, that famous ejector seat. Viewers gasped, laughed, and fell in love, not just with Bond, but with the car itself. Within weeks, the DB5 became a global sensation. Critics at the time called it the most beautiful prop ever built. But the truth was deeper. Aston Martin's elegant coupe had suddenly become the physical symbol of sophistication, danger, and cool. From that point forward, the DB5 wasn't just a car. It was the face of British cinema. Number 18. The real car specs versus movie myth. On screen, the Aston Martin DB5 looked unstoppable. A rolling fortress armed with machine guns, oil slicks, and an ejector seat that could launch a man through the roof. But the truth behind the legend is far more grounded in reality. Beneath the gadgets and glamour, the real DB5 was a masterpiece of British engineering. But it was still just a luxury Grand Tourer, fast, refined, and completely unarmed. The production model came with a 4.0-litre inline-six engine, pushing out 282 horsepower, capable of 0 to 60 mph in around 8 seconds, and topping out near 145 miles per hour. That was impressive for 1963, especially for a car lined with real leather, polished walnut, and hand-stitched trim. But those hidden weapons? Pure Hollywood magic. The guns were actually small flashbulbs. The smoke came from oil-based fog machines, and the bulletproof shield was just polished aluminum painted to look like armor. None of it worked, yet audiences believed every second of it. The DB5 became so convincing as a spy machine that people forgot it started life as a gentleman's touring car, not a weapon of war. Number 17. How Q-Branch engineered fantasy. Turning a real-world luxury car into a believable spy machine was no easy trick. Behind the scenes, special effects genius John Steers, the same man who later created the lightsabers for Star Wars, was tasked with transforming the Aston Martin DB5 into the ultimate gadget car. Working inside a modest London workshop, Steers and his small crew installed an arsenal of movie magic that looked perfectly real but was completely harmless. The front-mounted machine guns were actually tiny propane-fueled flash units hidden behind the headlights. The smokescreen came from a simple oil reservoir feeding into the exhaust, and the retractable rear shield was made from lightweight aluminum panels that folded up on cue. Even the legendary ejector seat, triggered by the red button beneath Bond's gear lever, was a mechanical illusion. It worked once, using compressed air and a dummy, but it was never intended for repeated takes. Despite the DB5 being just an elaborate stage prop, Steers' craftsmanship convinced millions. Viewers swore it was real. That blend of practical effects and imagination defined Goldfinger's Q branch. Half science, half showmanship, and completely unforgettable. Number 16, Bond's license plate mystery, BMT 216A. Every great spy has a signature. And for James Bond, it wasn't just the tuxedo or the Walther PPK, it was the license plate. The silver Aston Martin DB5 carried the now legendary registration number BMT 216A. A simple combination of letters and numbers that became one of the most recognizable in film history. What most fans don't realize is that BMT 216A was never random. It was an authentic British plate assigned by the Hertfordshire Licensing Office, chosen because it looked believable but wasn't tied to a real private owner at the time. Once the DB5 appeared in Goldfinger, the number became inseparable from Bond himself. The plate reappeared in Thunderball, 1965, GoldenEye, 1995, Skyfall, 2012, and No Time to Die, 2021, maintaining continuity across decades and different actors. Today, BMT 216A is more than an identifier, it's a symbol. It tells fans exactly who's behind the wheel before the camera even pans to his face. It's the license plate that launched a legacy, turning a registration number into a brand as iconic as 007's own codename. Number 15, Aston Martin's reluctance. Ironically, Aston Martin almost missed its biggest moment in history. When producers of Goldfinger first approached the company in 1963, the studio wasn't yet the global powerhouse it would become. And Aston Martin wasn't eager to hand over one of its prized new DB5s to a film crew known for roughing up vehicles. The request landed on the desk of the company's sales manager, and the initial response was polite but firm. No loaners. At the time, the DB5 was in high demand, and every car sold mattered to a small company that produced fewer than 1,200 units. But when word reached David Brown, the owner himself, he saw what others didn't: free global advertising. Brown reversed the decision and agreed to loan a prototype and one production car to Eon Productions, with one condition: Aston Martin's name had to appear prominently in the film. That one decision changed everything. After Goldfinger's release, Aston Martin's sales skyrocketed. The DB5's appearance was worth millions in publicity, all for the cost of a single car loan. What began as corporate hesitation became the best marketing move in automotive history. Number 14, from Dubonnet, red to silver birch. The Aston Martin DB5 that became James Bond's car didn't always shimmer in silver. In fact, the prototype used for Goldfinger was originally painted a deep Dubonnet red, a rich wine-like color, popular among Aston Martin's early clients. It was elegant, but it didn't exactly scream secret agent. When production designer Ken Adam first saw the red prototype, he felt it looked too traditional, too polite for a spy known for tuxedos and danger. The decision was made to repaint the car in silver birch, a pale metallic tone that would pop on camera and complement the film's sleek, modern aesthetic. Under studio lighting, the color reflected just enough contrast to emphasize the DB5's sculpted lines, turning it into a living piece of cinematic art. That single color change became one of the most important design choices in film history. Silver birch wasn't just a paint job, it was branding. Every Aston Martin Bond car since has carried some shade of metallic silver, an unbroken tradition started by a stylist's instinct and a can of paint. 13. The 4 Goldfinger cars and their fates. While audiences saw only one Aston Martin DB5 in Goldfinger, the truth is there were actually 4 cars involved, each with a different purpose and story. 2 were used for filming, and 2 were built later for publicity tours around the world. Together, they became the backbone of Bond's most enduring legend. The first car, chassis DP216 Sec 1, was the original prototype loaned by Aston Martin, the one fitted with all of John Steers' ingenious gadgets. The second, a standard production DB5, was modified for driving shots and high-speed chases. After filming wrapped, both cars were returned to Aston Martin, where the prototype was later refitted for promotion. 2 additional DB5s were then converted with replica gadgets for press events in Europe and America. Over the years, their paths diverged. One was displayed in museums, another sold to private collectors. The most famous, the original gadget car, was stolen in 1997 from a hangar in Florida and has never been recovered. Some claim it's hidden in a private collection. Others think it was dismantled long ago. But until it resurfaces, one of cinema's greatest icons remains missing. A spy car that truly disappeared without a trace. Number 12. Thunderball upgrades. When Thunderball hit theaters in 1965, James Bond's Aston Martin DB5 was back, but this time it had evolved. Following the global success of Goldfinger, audiences expected even bigger gadgets and wilder action. The filmmakers delivered, transforming the familiar DB5 into an upgraded version packed with new tricks straight from Q Branch's imagination. The Thunderball DB5 carried over the fan-favorite features: machine guns, bulletproof screen, revolving plates, but added a few fresh touches. Among them were rear-mounted water cannons, a jetpack compartment, and an updated smokescreen system. The gadgets were refined, sleeker, and better integrated into the car's design. Behind the scenes, Aston Martin worked closely with special effects supervisor John Steers again to ensure the upgrades looked authentic. Unlike Goldfinger, which used a prototype, Thunderball employed 2 fully finished production DB5s to handle the demands of filming. Number 11. Global fame and corgi model phenomenon. By the time Thunderball finished its theatrical run, the Aston Martin DB5 had become more than just a movie car. It was a pop culture revolution. Audiences across the world wanted a piece of 007's magic, and toy manufacturer Corgi seized the opportunity. In 1965, they released a die-cast model of Bond's DB5, complete with working gadgets, retractable bullet shield, tiny pop-out machine guns, and yes, a miniature ejector seat. The toy was an instant global phenomenon. Within the first year, Corgi sold over 2.5 million units, a record for the company, and one of the fastest-selling toys in history. Kids everywhere were launching miniature villains through the roof and spinning revolving license plates in their living rooms. That little toy did more for Aston Martin's brand awareness than any advertisement could. Sales of the real DB5 soared, and Corgi's model won Toy of the Year in 1965. Even decades later, it remains one of the most collected film-related toys ever made. Proof that sometimes the smallest version of a legend can outlive the full-size. Number 10. The DB5's comeback decades later. For most movie cars, fame fades fast. But 3 decades after Goldfinger, the Aston Martin DB5 made a triumphant return. In 1995, Pierce Brosnan's debut as James Bond in GoldenEye brought back not just the spy, but his car. The DB5's reappearance in the opening chase against a Ferrari 355 was both nostalgic and symbolic. Bond was entering the modern age, but the legend of the silver Aston was timeless. The car used on set wasn't one of the original Goldfinger models. Aston Martin supplied a genuine 1964 DB5, carefully restored to perfection. That sequence, shot on winding mountain roads near Monaco, reignited global fascination with the brand. From that moment, the DB5 became a recurring character once again. Appearing in Tomorrow Never Dies, 1997, Casino Royale, 2006, Skyfall, 2012, Spectre, 2015, and No Time to Die, 2021. Each generation of Bond and each new audience met the same car, unchanged yet eternal. Number 9. The Continuation Series, 2020 Goldfinger Edition. More than half a century after Goldfinger premiered, Aston Martin decided to do something no other car maker had ever attempted. Bring the legend back to life, gadgets and all. In 2020, Aston Martin's Heritage Division launched the DB5 Goldfinger Continuation Series, a limited production run of 25 brand new cars, each built to the exact 1963 specifications and equipped with fully functional movie gadgets. These weren't replicas. They were factory-built continuations, hand-assembled at Aston Martin's historic Newport Pagnell facility, the same place where the original DB5s were born. Each DB5 continuation carried a price tag of nearly $2.75 million, yet every unit sold out before production even began. Owners included lifelong Bond fans and collectors who wanted more than nostalgia. They wanted history reborn. These cars weren't just tributes. They were proof that Aston Martin could merge craftsmanship, cinema, and legacy into one extraordinary engineering encore. Number 8, the DB5. That vanished. It sounds like a plot straight out of a James Bond movie. A priceless spy car disappears without a trace. But this wasn't fiction. The original Aston Martin DB5 used in Goldfinger, the very prototype fitted with all of Q Branch's legendary gadgets, was stolen in 1997. From a secure hangar at Boca Raton Airport in Florida, the car, known by its chassis number DP2161, had been sold to an American collector years earlier and insured for over $4 million. One night, thieves broke into the hangar, loaded the car onto a plane or cargo container, and vanished into the night. Not a single part, clue, or sighting has ever been confirmed. Investigators described it as the most valuable missing car in the world. Over the years, rumors have circulated that it was hidden in the Middle East, locked away in a private vault, or quietly dismantled and sold piece by piece. But no solid proof has surfaced. Even today, Aston Martin enthusiasts call it the lost Bond car. Number 7. The royal recognition. Few cars achieve fame. Even fewer achieve royal status. In 2013, the Aston Martin DB5 crossed that line when it was officially honored as a British cultural icon. That year, the Royal Mail released a special British Auto Legends stamp collection, and front and center was the silver birch DB5 from Goldfinger. It wasn't just a nod to cinema. It was national recognition that the DB5 represented the very spirit of British craftsmanship and style. The DB5 has also shared the stage with royalty in real life. At events celebrating British engineering, including displays at Buckingham Palace and Goodwood Festival of Speed, the car has stood beside the world's most significant vehicles. Even Prince Charles and Prince William are known Aston Martin owners. William famously drove one during his wedding celebrations. A subtle tribute to Bond's enduring legacy. From film sets to royal ceremonies, the DB5 transcended entertainment. Number 6. Engineering legacy. Beneath its timeless curves, the Aston Martin DB5 wasn't just a movie star. It was a masterclass in 1960s engineering. Every inch of it reflected precision and purpose. Its aluminum body, designed by the Italian coach builder Carrozzeria Touring, used the revolutionary superleggera, super light, construction method, giving the car its perfect balance of strength and agility. The 4.0-liter straight-six engine, hand-built at Aston Martin's Newport Pagnell facility, produced smooth, effortless power, while the ZF 5-speed gearbox made it a driver's dream long before the term Grand Tourer became popular. But the DB5's influence went far beyond its specs. It set the engineering DNA for future Aston Martins, from the aggressive DBS of the 1970s to the V12 Vanquish of the 2000s. Each carried a piece of the DB5's legacy. Understated luxury wrapped around serious performance. Even decades later, modern Aston Martins are still benchmarked against the DB5's elegance and mechanical purity. It wasn't the fastest car of its era, nor the most advanced, but it was perfectly balanced. Number 5. Cultural. Symbolism. The Aston Martin DB5 isn't just a car anymore. It's a symbol of everything James Bond represents. When people think of British sophistication, they picture 3 things: a tailored suit, a martini, and a silver Aston Martin. The DB5 became shorthand for the perfect blend of style, danger, and intelligence, a reflection of Bond himself. Across 6 decades, the DB5 has transcended film to become part of popular culture. It's appeared in video games, music videos, advertisements, and even fashion editorials, always carrying the aura of cool confidence. Car designers cite it as inspiration. Filmmakers use it as visual shorthand for luxury. Number 4. Auction legends. If there's one car that proves nostalgia has a price, it's the Aston Martin DB5. Decades after its cinematic debut, collectors began battling fiercely to own even a fragment of Bond history. Original Goldfinger and Thunderball DB5s have become some of the most expensive movie vehicles ever sold. In 2010, one of the original screen-used DB5s, complete with its full array of restored gadgets, sold at auction for $4.6 million, but that record didn't last long. In 2019, another DB5, painstakingly rebuilt with functioning props under official supervision from Aston Martin and Eon Productions, went under the hammer at RM Sotheby's for a staggering $6.4 million USD. Number 3. The sound of spy cinema. Long before the DB5 ever appeared on screen, audiences heard it. That deep, refined growl of its inline-six engine became one of the most recognizable sounds in movie history. Recorded live during Goldfinger's chase scenes, the DB5's exhaust note was so distinct that sound engineers reused it in later Bond films, layering it under music and effects to give every appearance the same unmistakable presence. The car didn't just look elegant, it sounded dangerous. Each rev symbolized confidence, control, and power, the perfect audio match for Bond himself. The sound team even modified real engine recordings, mixing them with subtle bass enhancements to make the DB5 feel larger than life on the big screen. Even in modern Bond films, the same tone reappears. Number 2. The DB5 in pop culture. Phew! Movie props have escaped the screen to live full lives of their own. Aston Martin DB5 did exactly that. Since Goldfinger, it's appeared in video games, cartoons, television shows, and even theme parks, transcending generations who may have never seen the original film. From the LEGO creator expert DB5, complete with working ejector seat, to racing titles like Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo, and James Bond, 07 Racing, the car has been faithfully recreated in digital form. In each, it carries the same aura of sophistication and danger. Even in advertising, luxury brands reference the DB5 to evoke timelessness. Perfume ads, men's fashion campaigns, and travel commercials have all borrowed its silhouette to suggest Bond-level cool. Number 1. From prototype to immortality. It began as a simple engineering prototype, a single car built to test performance, destined to be forgotten once the production line moved on. But destiny had other plans. The Aston Martin DB5, born quietly in 1963, became immortal the moment James Bond stepped behind its wheel.